Hi, everybody. This is Coach Henry with Positive Traction, your host, and I am really blessed to have a new friend in my life and someone in business that I'm looking forward to just cross over more. Let me tell you a bit about her. This is Brittany Moore. She is the business owner, she's an entrepreneur, she's an efficiency expert, she's a keynote speaker, and she is the CEO of Be More Organizer. So, with that being said, welcome to the show, Britt.
Thank you so much for having me, Henry. I'm excited to chat with you today.
Well, thank you. Being a 100% stereotype, anyone that's going to see this part without hearing you is going to go in, who's this cute blonde and what does she know
Oh,
about business? Because that's what they're going to say, right? You're going to fall into that stereotype
go ahead
of
and
who are
underestimate me.
exactly, Britt. And I know better, and now I know you, so I love that. But when they see you, they're going to be like, "Oh, okay." But now let's unpack this powerful woman that has created some pretty amazing things, and I really want to speak that over you because I know some of those things. So let's get right into it because I want people to understand that you didn't get here by luck. You didn't get here because you're just a cute face. You got here for some seriously grit and determination. So let's get into what brought you to create your why that's your powerhouse of pushing through some adversities of being an entrepreneur.
It's at this point in my life and in my walk and my journey and absolutely business and personal, I think when you're a CEO kind of come together like this. I think when you're an employee or have various other roles at a business, you can kind of keep business and personal a little bit separated, but when you're the
Mm-hmm.
CEO, it's very much all tied together. There's no doubt that the business and the way that I handle all of my companies is a manner of how I've had to learn and adjust to the environment that I've walked through most of my life. And so, I'm not shy and I'm a total open book. I'm actually writing a book and I'm all about sharing my story. And so I had a pretty rough go of it as a kid. A lot of abuse. I was adopted when I was 15, went to 5 high schools. If you can think of a hard thing to happen to a child, probably happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't get necessarily easier from there. Coming from that type of upbringing, I didn't always make good choices. I didn't have good role models. And I got into a marriage with a guy who was abusive as well. And so it's kind of been hardship after hardship. But what's interesting is I can absolutely see God's role in a lot of it and what I've
Mm-hmm.
learned. And I think something beautiful about pain is when you get to the point that you can honestly say, yes, this horrible thing over here happened, but I'm now so glad that it did happen because now I've been able to feed into these people because of it. And without that come from, I wouldn't have the authority to speak on that stage,
Yeah.
write that
Yeah.
book, or
Yeah.
have that conversation. And so without the biography that I've built, if you will, and struggled through,
Yeah. Yeah.
gotten through, it wouldn't have given me the opportunities that I now have. And to your question, Be More Organized is absolutely a come from of my past. So I was in
Yeah.
church a number of years ago, and a pastor was talking on this element of pain to purpose. And it's probably one of the biggest times a light bulb has just like gone off in front of me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, God, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And what really transpired from that that light bulb was that, okay, I had this pain. I had my pain and a number of them. But if you, we talk about things in organizing in terms of macro and micro. So you can
Yeah.
macro organize something like medical supplies, or you can
Right.
macro organize it down to like toddler medical supplies, baby medical supplies, etc. So on
Right.
a macro
I
level,
like that. Yeah.
a lot of the pain in my life has to do with environment. I didn't have a good environment. I had a stressful, overwhelming, anxiety driven, unsafe environment most of my life, especially in my younger years when I had no control over that environment. And so as an adult, I've taken that pain, I found a passion in that
Yeah.
pain. I am deeply passionate about
Mm.
people's environments. And so I've
Mhm.
created my purpose out of that, which is to create organized, efficient, aesthetically pleasing environments for people. And what I hope to have come from that even further and even deeper is from this book, and being able to educate on a deeper level, because I think we've really lost sight of environments in our life and our awareness around that.
Well, Britt, thank you for being real. I know that in the few times we've been able to talk prior to this, and I want to go back because I think it's important because look, no matter what, we all get discredited, right? I could be, oh, there's the jock. What does he know about business? Or there's the pretty girl. What does she know? So this isn't about justification. It is about giving credibility to your hardships, to the pain that you've gone through. Because there's other people out there, Brittany, at any level that always wait for the perfect environment, always wait for the perfect situation, and I believe what you've had to learn, what has literally empowered you through, is you have come from the most horrific environments. You have come from no foundations. You've come from no stability. You've come from high school to high schools and all the things. And it did wreck you for a while. And it caused you to make some decisions because your sounding board was water, meaning that you had no sounding board. You just were stepping. So, through the grace of God, you were able to say, wait a minute, I deserve better. I want better. This is going to be uglier. It's uncharted territory, but I know I deserve it. And that's just God speaking in you and through you because you didn't really have someone specifically. Yeah, he used pastors and certain people later, but in that time, I can only imagine your pain. I can only imagine it. And you're going, okay, so now you said it beautifully. You're passionate, you're purposeful, and you want to help people say, look, a healthy environment, a healthy home, a great starting block isn't going to assure you things are going to be great, but it does give you a better opportunity for it. It does give you a
Mm-hmm.
better chance, right? What you're doing with your son. By the way, your son has an amazing name. Sorry, I'm going to be biased. It's Henry, everybody.
Yes.
So,
Just don't
but
call him Hank, please.
I won't. And only a few people call me that every once in a while because I used to play baseball and there was a famous a player named Hank Aaron. Anyway, but they don't normally call me Hank, but I won't call
Yeah,
him Hank.
but I love it. Henry's a good name. It's his name is Henry Robert Hare, and it's a just good, strong, kind of like English name.
Yeah, it is. It is. But on that, I want to go back to something because it gives contents to today, to your passion, to feel, and then want to ask you some more questions. So, going back to
Mhm.
when one of the hardest parts when you got married, right, and the expectations that you thought, right, you're like, uh, you came from all this unfortunate abuse that you've shared
You think
that I
it's
can't.
all over. You think you're turning a page.
There you go. So tell me in that, because then when you, at the end of that particular journey, you had to look back and go, wow, right?
Yeah, no,
So,
I think if we really look at hindsight 2020, right? Look at breakups that you've had in your past, jobs that you've lost, big, maybe hurtful, like chapter ending moments. And if you
mhm,
look back and you investigate and you have the self awareness, you will almost always see that you went through a big change after. Maybe it was a change over 6 months, maybe it was really instant, maybe it was
mhm,
over a year, but something in you changed. You decided no to that and yes to something else, something about your personality. A lot of people change their hair color after a breakup,
yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
is. You probably changed something. And so when I look back in my life in painful moments and hardship, I see so much growth. I am
Mm.
someone who, I think, just because of my past and because it was almost like instinctual to me based on my
Yeah.
upbringing, I go through something challenging and it's like, all right, fight like crazy, get out, go that way, get it,
Hmm.
go a different direction, like find a different path. And so for me, when I got out of my marriage, when I left a few years ago, it was definitely a 6 month period of reflection. And luckily I journal a lot. That's really a big form of my therapy. I love writing,
Yeah.
hence the book. And
I
so
can't
for
wait for it.
me, looking back, I could look back on the girl who said yes to that man. And I
Hmm.
just saw her as very codependent, dire to be loved and protected,
Mm.
and for someone to keep her safe, for kind of the, not the white picket fence, vision, but like the
Right.
family, the
Yeah.
kids, the first time in my life that I really felt like this was my family. and
Absolutely.
um and yeah, and so I think looking back on who I was at that point, I totally see that I had a lot of things looking back that definitely led me to choose the type of partner and spouse that I did, which my ex is a narcissist, and that's something that I am just oddly enjoying researching and investigating and coming alongside other men and women and helping them through some of their narcissistic
Hmm.
experiences.
Hmm.
And it's something I'm super passionate about because I think we're not speaking about it enough.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, look at your pain, look at where you grew in the past after pain, after suffering, because
Hmm.
suffering almost always leads to change. I mean,
Yeah.
as a Christian too, when we talk about, man, I was with someone yesterday just praying, and she's like, Brittany, please just pray that my husband would continue to be broken. And I'm like, it's so beautiful, because when we're
Yeah.
broken is when new growth does happen, is when we
Yes.
do change, especially as Christians, but
Yeah.
even anyone. And so it's just having the awareness of like what changed, what continues to need to change, and asking God, yeah, like, God, where can you break me, where can I be better?
Yeah.
And there are
Amen.
definitely days, and today's one of them, where I'm like, God, I don't know that I have many places left for you to break me. Are you serious? You found another
Yeah.
one still today?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And you know, Britt, you're sharing a lot of amazing, painful but beautiful wisdom. So thank you for being who I know you to be and real and authentic. And it's look, vulnerability is ultimately a strength, but it's not conceived as a strength, right? Because especially what you've been through, narcissism, a big part of the narcissism is manipulation, right? Making you
mhm,
feel that it's
controlling.
all you, right?
Mhm.
But that exists and even for those that you don't title that, you can see it now in where you are today with anything, especially you as a woman doing business, and all of a sudden, because you do a lot, so of course they're gonna right away demean you. Right away, you have to like show your worth and almost fight to even get on stage. And then when you're there, you have to constantly be in the defense for the most part. But that's what I admire about you. One of the things is for you to say, look, I'm going to continue to take the truth and speak it, and not in a victim mentality manner, but in a victor mentality manner. And that's a big difference. It's a big difference because one's going to catapult you to continue to move forward, to continue your passion. And that's why these platforms matter, Britt. This is why this show is called Positive Traction. It doesn't mean positive poly, it means that attraction is God moving through us. It's us proceeding. It's like, Lord, really today, this went wrong, this went wrong, and a couple of things that you shared off camera that it is a tough day. Okay, well, I have two choices. I retreat, and sometimes we need to go to the desert like Jesus did and just take a moment. And sometimes he's like, no, sometimes you got to go, no, it's on. And you know what, devil, you thought you had it. It's not going to happen.
Well, and it's where reading your Bible every day and knowing what God is wanting you to do, like in these moments today, right? You even said, right? Like, Brittany, we can reschedule this. We can do this a different day. You're having a hard day. And it's like, no, my yes is my yes, my no is my no. Like, I have this on my calendar. I committed to doing this. And there are a lot of days in entrepreneurship and in just being an adult where
Yeah.
sometimes it is like, for the next hour, I have to put all my emotions aside and
Yeah.
I have to do this. Like, this is what's ahead of me. This is what God has put ahead of me. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. And that is really hard, but God says not to be led by our emotions, right? They have their
Amen.
place the
Yeah.
same way that road signs, if you're, approaching a really sharp turn in the road and you're traveling at 70 miles an hour, you want that road sign that says, whoa, slow down. It's like a really
Yeah.
sharp turn on a cliff, right? So
Yep.
emotions to me are like road signs. It's like, okay, something's going on, something's off, I'm tired, I'm this, or whatever it is. But it doesn't mean that that's the end all be all, right?
Yeah.
It's what is
Absolutely,
God
Britt.
asking me to do next? What have I committed to? And what's in front of me, and just continue.
I love that. And that is beautiful wisdom on that. And you're right. Look, at the end of the day, what I find myself when I'm in the same position of something constant, right? So whatever pain or whatever, like you said earlier, God, really, you're gonna break me more? So when I'm there, and I'm there quite a bit, as you can imagine,
Yes.
then I what I've learned for me is instead of asking why as much, I still do a little bit, right? Because I'm still human.
Kind of it's like a natural knee jerk reaction. Why?
Exactly. Right. It's almost like God is coming. And I always share the story of God and I. We fight a lot. Obviously, he always wins, but I definitely will give him my opinion. But one of the things that has helped me evolve and the wisdom I feel that he's really started even this year for me, and certain things that I kept saying to your point, like kind of like I need to go back to something in a minute of how you felt. You said, you know, and you had to be right to feel that you met your prince and it's going to be everything I'm going to build the most amazing family, something I never was given. And then all of a sudden, here he is, not anything you thought. Here now you're now in another situation with a broken home and you're like, God, really, really, this is everything. And I thought I did it right. And I bring that up, Brittany, because I've been there so many times in my life, not in the relationship part as much, but in life, right? Like, God,
Hmm.
really? Really? Like, and then what he said to me, what I felt from that is, I'm not done preparing you for what's
Yeah.
next.
And
And that,
one,
yeah.
no,
No,
totally.
go
One
ahead.
of the hits I got today that was immediately afterwards, and that's what's cool about as you grow in your relationship with God, it can sound so kitschy, and like you're like, what does that mean as someone who's maybe newly walking with Christ, of like, he talks to you? What do you mean he talks to you? I've never like heard God. It is a inner voice and prompting and gut feeling, and I think it looks different for different people based on how you communicate, but with
Yeah.
me it's an inner prompting and gut feeling of things I wouldn't normally think or normally say, that I'm like, that was God. And I just know it. Like, I just know because of my closeness in my relationship with him. And immediately after I got this bad news, like literally less than an hour ago, like really bad news, God was like, you're so close. Like, you're so close.
Mm,
This rejection is totally my protection. It's coming
mm,
back tenfold. Don't worry. You're
amen.
so close.
Yeah.
And as a little bit bummed from a like physical world perspective that I am about this news that I got, from
Sure.
like a spiritual world like perspective, I feel like God's just like wrapped me in a blanket. He's like, I got you.
Yeah.
Like, don't
Amen.
worry. Like,
Yeah.
we're hiring a bunch right now. We're adding multiple new softwares over the next 2 weeks. We're constantly defining and redefining what process and efficiency and things we're going to do better for our clients. I've had 10 site consultations with clients this week. Awesome clients who are just like,
Mm,
what? You do this? There's a
that's so
service that
good.
does this? Oh my
So
gosh,
good.
you guys are
Yeah.
amazing. And so it's also learning to be the tree in the middle of the ocean that is so
Mm,
deeply rooted that even though the
amen.
waves are 30 feet or 10 stories tall, that when it comes crashing down on you, you might like get shaken a little bit, but you don't fall over anymore.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
without resiliency is not something you're born with. It actually drives me crazy when people say kids are so resilient. I'm like, no, they're not. Like,
Yeah.
I was a kid who went through hell. Like, no, you're not naturally resilient. So if you're listening
Hmm.
and you're not there and you're like, I don't know, hard stuff really rocks me, and I feel like that tree that just crumbles, like, you get there.
Hmm.
Like, you
Yeah.
get there by just
Yeah.
getting through it one more day at a time. Resiliency is not something we're born with. It's not an easy muscle to build. Coach Henry here knows all about building muscle and fighting hard,
Hmm.
and it is something you build over time. And any
Yeah.
good muscle, right? Like, you can like build up some nice like biceps, sure, maybe in like 3 months, but like the really good muscle is going to come like over the course of a year. That's when you've got like a really strong
Yes.
bicep. That's not just like
Yeah.
it looks strong, it's really strong, right? And you know more about that
Yeah.
than I do.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
But
And Britt, on that note, you're absolutely right. Look, like any muscle, it's a great analogy that you did, is that even when, let's say you don't work out for a month because of life, the muscle, it's going to be there and it'll come back, let's just say, faster. It might have taken you, to your point, 1 year, but all of a sudden, in a couple of weeks, you feel like, there it is, because we work it, right? What is faith? Faith is, to me, I look at like a muscle. We have
of
to
course
be
you
able to. And I believe what you went through is, look, and this is why community is so important, Britt. This is why, because what is the worst punishment legally that we talk about in the prisons? It's solitary confinement,
do.
right?
Okay, did you and I have this conversation? Because I say this all the time to people. Did you and I
No,
already talk about this?
no, we
Okay,
never
that's
have.
so funny because I literally say this exact thing to people,
Did
that I'm like,
you?
the worst punishment in the world is literally solitary confinement. Like,
No,
and
we've never talked about that.
yeah, it's actually in my book. I actually literally have this in my book. Go ahead.
Really?
Yeah.
No, no. And again, I had a guest on here, Britt, real quick side note, and 17 years in prison and 3 years in solitary confinement, right? And what God is doing in his life is absolutely amazing. And
Wow.
just on that note, Britt, he got out of prison 3 years ago, June, 3 years ago, June. And he just spoke yesterday at Google, workshop at Google with a rap sheet, $200 to his name when he got out. So, yeah, Britt, like I always say, and what you said is that why do we need community? Why are you sharing everything you're sharing? To build. You've built a small army at work. You have a process. You have, even if you love somebody, you're like, I'm going to come over here and let the team do its part of your due diligence, because you might not see something that's incredible wisdom, which I'll get to here in a little bit, because somebody else might see something that you don't. And that's beautiful. And I say that because it's community. You built a work community. And in life, we need the same thing. I mean, you're a CEO. You are taking shots. You are making things happen. So the enemy is going to come at the leaders. They're going to knock them down. But like you said beautifully, if you're rooted deeply, you might get shaken. You were shaken this morning. Absolutely. But the resilience that you've built, that God has built in you, is powerful. And
Yeah.
every time that you get punched, you're like, okay, you're going to write a book. You're going to build a better podcast platform, a better company, better employer, more happy clients, a couple homes, the people going, Brittany, what you've done with my house, not only does it look amazing, it functions beautifully. And that would not have happened if everything went to the plan that you thought 10 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yep. Without
You
all
know?
the hardship, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have the skill sets to think about environments the way that I do. No way.
Yep. Yep.
No way.
And
And it's what gives it's what gives my company a leg up in the competition. We're not just here to put things in bins. We're not just here to make things look beautiful. There's
mm-hmm.
something so much deeper at play when we're in someone's home and when we're in their environment, when we are coming alongside of them in their stress and their worry and their
Yes.
overwhelm and their pain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we we work at a deeper level.
Yes. And
On
and and just go ahead.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, on the note of community. So I 100% agree with everything that you said. And so one thing that I will say that has rocked me a little bit the last 2 years. So I've always been the person who's on multiple boards, nonprofits. I lead all the Bible studies. I'm co-captain of the fantasy football team. I like all the things, right? Like I am the person then when I reach out to my core group of 5 people once a year and I say, "Hey, what's something I can do to grow, to be better? I won't get mad at you. I won't get defensive. I'll pray about it. Go for it. Like lay it on me."
Yeah.
Most of the time over my life, they've all said, "You're too busy." Like I'm that person, right? And the last 2 years of my life, it's not the case. The last 2 years of my life, I feel like I've had almost no community. I have one person that I swear, if I stand up on a stage one day and accept a big award, it's going to be all because of her and her being alongside me the last 2 years for sure.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is I really do believe when God wants to grow you and break you and change you, he will isolate you a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of podcasts and read a few books from other CEOs who talk about that when they're going through that pivotal point in tipping and scaling their business, going to the next level. I have great people. I will say it at all the different stages of my life, the different people that I've been, the different places I've lived, all of it. I've had wonderful people. And I don't mean to talk about it in terms of like, I'm here and they're there. It's more like
Yeah.
people here, 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 and here. But
Yeah.
at all the different stages, wonderful friends. I really have, and strong Christians, even most recently in my life. But God is calling me to something different now. And I need different kinds of people around me who are going to
Yes.
push me to the next level, who are going to call me out when it's like, "Ugh, you do this and you need to be better. You're better than this. Get to it, girl." Like I need
Yeah.
people who are going to push me. And that is bold, confident people who are typically doing bigger things. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
for me to be all that I know God is calling me to be. That's what I need to surround myself with. And so honestly,
Amen.
the last 2 years, I've been in quite a lot of isolation. It is
Yeah.
like I work, and I'm not even exaggerating, like I work 80 to 100-hour weeks. And I've done that now for at least a year and a half. I've
Right.
got a little 5-year-old, and my life is about work and him, and that's it.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and so, but to that point, there's seasons, right? There's seasons for everything in life. There's songs about this. It's in the Bible, everything. And so I guess to
100%.
anyone out there too, it's yes, everything Henry said, like community is so important. And I have had one very core person in my life who I cry to and vent to and whine to and call she's my first phone call if something goes right or goes wrong. You have to have someone. You really do have to have someone.
Yeah.
But there is something to have the self-awareness. If God has called you into some isolation, what is he doing with you and your mind and your body in that isolation, right? We see that a lot in the Bible too. Like, and yeah,
100%.
Jesus retreated to the desert, right? For isolation. Like,
I talk about that all the time, Brittany, and what you're
yeah.
sharing. Look, I agree with you, and I'm not just saying that. I agree with you, and we have a lot of same values, a lot of same beliefs, and I think that's why I'm really excited to have you as a guest because, this is the way you and I talk anyway. So
Yeah.
might as well share some of that with people that can hear it because it's not, always easy. That's the biggest thing, and it's not. It's actually mostly hard. But we
Mm-hmm.
know there's a greater purpose. And you said something. Look, there's a great book. It's a simple book, and it is called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There," right? And it's such a great book because you got to a certain point, but it doesn't mean that's going to elevate you to the next point. To your point, right now, for the last 18 months, like you said, you've been head down, being a great mom, being a great boss, and just getting your company to another level. Now, let's just call that the infrastructure of your business life and life. Okay. Now, and I'm hoping, God willing, from little things you've shared over the next couple of months, your team will grow. You're like, okay, let's just use it for the sake of the viewers or the listeners from 80 hours to 70 hours to 60 hours. But it means that you might replace 1 hour with a better hour because now that's a different kind of quality, a different kind of season. But that's what
Absolutely.
God does. So I'm with you. Look, when it's solitary confinement is a punishment, it is the worst. But when it's God given, Jesus, go to the desert, be alone, be refreshed, be regrouped, And that's what he's been doing with you in this season. Now,
And
when it,
and
yeah,
there's some solitary confinement moments. Don't let me get you wrong. I mean, there's being a business owner. I always I got to figure out the right level of hot and cold to talk about this, because I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
I don't know that I would wish being an entrepreneur on my worst enemy most days. So you should not do that. But
yeah,
it is hard, to your point. I mean, and what you said too, like it is. Most CEOs, most people that are on the cover of Forbes and talking on the big podcasts or getting on the news, they're just smiling and, yeah, I make lots of money and here's my mansion and here's this and, yeah, but you don't see the nights. I mean, when you get
yeah.
higher up on the food chain and your business gets bigger and you are having more impact, you're not working less hours, like, most of the time,
Correct.
right? Like, I've
Yeah.
got a CFO, I've got a COO, I've got a CAO. Like, I'm ready to scale, I'm ready to build, I'm ready to start shoving the hours other places. And to your point, I really do want to get to like 60 hours a week. That would be heaven to me. I don't think I'll ever work 40 hours a week, but I'd be happy with 60. But running a company, being a leader, let's just do that. Let's just level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's just say
Yeah.
being a leader is
Mm-hmm.
hard work.
It
Your
is.
job, there's not like classes for this. There's books on it, but you got to still apply it. You got to still do the work to apply the knowledge
Oh,
that you're
Britt,
learning.
you're spitting out some beautiful wisdom. And on that note, sorry to interrupt you, but I just
Please.
like you said, oh my gosh, we talked about this. No, we talked about a lot of things, but we never talked about the solitary confinement. But look, being a leader, and it's like this. Remember, I did share the prayer, Jabez. If you do not get sowed into, so to go back to community. Community doesn't mean that look, I've been to church so many times where I sat in the back row in the corner and didn't want to, in between shake hands with people. I needed to just receive. I
Mm-hmm.
needed to just hear. And then there's times where I'm the guy, hey, welcome to church today, right? That is only the seasons that God can allow us to go through.
Yep.
And being a leader, level the playing field. Only you and God know which is which. And close people, to your point, like you said. So that's what I'm referring to for you and I as leaders, is that people that can say, hey, Britt, listen, I know you've been pushing, but what about, because that's where I listened to God. Because remember, my son, for so long, Dad, you need to do a full day off, right? Like these things, it's biblical.
I dream.
Yeah. And then, but as a testimony, Britt, to that point, I said,
Yeah.
okay, well, God always talks about new wine. And if I'm constantly full, like I just had this conversation with one of our team members, and she was saying
Mm-hmm.
something because she has to tap in on another day, and there's no day off at all. And again, there's times where you beast it up. We know that. But on a regular basis, I guess what finally hit me in this season of my life is, well, can it wait? Can I be better about organizing my time? Can I release? And maybe that day I needed some fun. Maybe I needed to refresh. So it really, that's a whole other segment we could talk about, but it really brought a lot to mind, is maybe God saying to me, in this
Mm-hmm.
season, Henry, trust me that you're going to be fine. To release these things, I need you to rest, right? Whatever that is. Now, I used to, and sometimes on a crazy week, I do like a Saturday at noon to a Sunday at noon, or, give or take. Like it's so there's 24 hours. I'd find different ways with
I
God,
get
like,
like 2 hours here or there where I feel that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And God, it added up to being a 24 hours, but like I said, we could probably have a whole show on talking about that. But I do want people to go back, because you've said some really amazing things. And I want to give content to it, because it does help when people realize how hard you're working. And it's not about they haven't heard it before. It's the applicable part, that you're approachable. You're human. You're a real woman that is out there being a single mom, trying to do the best you can. And you have to be very careful because of your past, because of the narcissist, because of the people that have constantly failed you, betrayed you, abandoned you. You have to be even more cautious. So can you share a little bit about how you maneuver, who you allow in your circle? And I know right now it's a small circle, as you've
Mm-hmm.
addressed, but even as you open the doors little by little, and I know you trust God, but you're still human. How do you feel? Because I know there's someone out there going, I've been in an abusive relationship. I don't want to be scarred, Brittany. I don't want to like take that bad baggage and then finally meet a good guy or meet a good girl or have a good job and I bring all my baggage because nope, never gonna happen to me again. And they don't do it for pain for purpose like you did in a beautiful way. Now they're taking it over. Like, and I've seen that. People have been hurt so bad this
People,
way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So either they go into complete non-trusting or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also more frequent and more often than not that people continue their challenge, let's just say their challenging behaviors or
Yes.
their
Yes.
decision making that leads to challenging situations. So the level of statistics around children who come from alcoholic mothers or fathers that then end up marrying alcoholic spouses, same with
Mm-hmm.
narcissists, same with a
Yes.
lot of things like that. It is the love that we know. And I know that sounds so weird, but the more I study neuroscience, the more I lean into our brain and how neural pathways are formed. And I'm like really into EMDR right now and learning about that. And it's fascinating. And I think it totally relates to the Bible on renewing your mind. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so on that note, finding, gosh, yeah, it's going through the things that, like, thinking about all the things that we've been through in our life. And I don't know, there's so much like the EMDR and the neuroscience that I've been following and how our brains work with holding on to trauma and holding on to memories. We really do repeat our challenges more often than
Yeah.
not. And so I
Yes.
think it's having a statistical awareness that if you are a child of this, be aware that you are 90% likely to choose someone like that. And so
Yes.
learn
Yes.
the awareness. What are these traits? What are the red flags? What are the yellow flags? Like, pay attention to the yellow flags. They become red
Mm-hmm.
flags, and so
Yes.
it's
That's a
paying
great point,
attention
Britt.
to it, awareness. So really awareness around it. But yes, no, I've had so many girls specifically ask me, Brittany, are you scared to date again? Are you scared that you are going to meet another narcissist? And I'm like, not
Mm-hmm.
even a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. So
Amen.
here's me. Here's just me, right? And I think this is something you have to form inside of yourself. I have when you've I always botch this. I really need to like memorize this, but I always
It's
botch it.
okay.
So bear with me.
Yeah, I love it.
But
I love it.
there's a quote, a poem, something that I heard once, and I have it written down in one of my journals. It says, "A fish, um, a fish cannot survive on the surface. It needs depth, right? Like it can't breathe
Mm-hmm.
air. It needs to like go down deep, right? Love
Yes.
is just like that. Love cannot survive on the surface. It is a thing of depth, of vulnerability, of
Love that. Love
intimacy.
that.
Like you can feel it. You can feel the pressure. You know how your ears like hurt the deeper you dive in a swimming pool?
Yeah.
Like there is a feeling that comes that you can sense when someone has depth to them. And I would
Yes.
say the majority of human beings out there, and we know society's getting worse, not better. It's going to get worse before it gets better, before Jesus
Yes.
comes back.
Yes.
So,
Amen.
with that knowledge, know that you need to be looking for that feeling of depth in someone.
I
And if
agree
they
with
are
you.
not emotionally available, you will be able to feel it. There likely will be some verbal or things that you can spot with your eyes, but I swear it's a feeling for me. When you've been pulled to the depth of the ocean in pain and you had to swim and struggle your way back to the surface to get like a fresh breath of air, and I think you love deeper. You feel deeper. Your ocean is a little bit deeper emotionally than other
Yes.
people. And I think
Yes.
sometimes when we have those superficial people and in our lives or just people that we know, those people a lot of times haven't had deep pain. They
Mm-hmm.
feel on the surface. That's why they're superficial. That's why
And
they
and I think a lot on that, Britt. I love how I've actually never heard. So whether you botched it or not, I loved it,
did
and
it
I
work?
hear you. It worked
Okay.
because I've never heard that example, and I love that. Because when you are, like you said, a fish, if a normal fish tries to go towards the surface, I mean, it loses itself, right? And it gets caught by someone trying to catch them. So
Yeah.
it's a great
Surface sucks.
example. But I think also to add on that, I think faith is a big part for you because you're not functioning off fear, you're functioning off faith. And
That is
to
big.
what you, it's big. And like you said, what you know now, right? And I love another part that you said is just applying the knowledge. That part I say a lot with you. So we're on the same page. You can read me 1,000 books, but if you're not living it out, if you're not applying it out, then you're not. And that's what God also speaks for us that are believers. Those are saying, hey, here's my living word. Go apply it. I love the church in Texas that we go to at the very end. We've just been in church. Now go be the church,
It's
right?
we don't know the definition enough of wisdom and knowledge. The difference between wisdom and knowledge is application.
Mm. Ooh, you're dropping some good stuff, Britt. See, so God knew because I know that people listening today are watching. Because we're definitely going to do a couple episodes because we have. I didn't even get to my other questions. I'm looking at. There's some good
We get
questions.
fabulous.
I
We're gonna
mean,
have a
I
part two and a part three.
we really are. We really are. And I knew that. I knew that. And I got and that's just the way God works. And that is why your resilience is a blessing that God has formed in you and through you. Because you will take days like today, you'll take a moment and go, okay, I'm back.
It
I'm
sucks.
ready.
Yeah,
And that's it.
yeah, and it's
And mhm.
you just have to keep going. I have a friend, and someone who works on my team occasionally, and I know we need to sign off here soon. She is amazing. She specializes in grief counseling, and one of the things that I've learned through working with her and besides her and reading her books is grief is we tend to talk about grief as something you just need to get over, like get through it, just get through it, move on from it. And what I love about the way that she teaches and the way that she works is you never get through grief. You get
Mm,
better at living with it. And I love applying that to
mm,
life. The
that's good.
hardships of life, the struggles of life. Don't beat yourself down that you haven't gotten over it. Like I had some people ask me, even some family members that were like, aren't you over this yet? Like, why can't you forgive him yet, or something like that, like when I was going through my divorce or things like that.
Right.
I just
Right.
I hated that so much because I'm like, who are you to put a time on
Mm-hmm.
my grief, on my feelings, on my process, on God's path for me, right?
Yes,
And so
yes, yes.
one thing to anyone going through hardship, going through hard times, going through grief, there's no getting over it. You
Mm-hmm.
do get a lot better, I promise, a lot better at living with it. There's not a day that I don't think about lately, like the fact that like I lost my dog a few months ago. There's not
Mm.
probably a week, I wouldn't say a day, but there's probably not a week that goes by that I'm not somehow reminded that I'm a single mom, that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I can't apply my kid to certain private schools because I won't get accepted because I'm a single mom,
Mm.
or that I don't
Yeah.
have help. It's you, I'm not over it. I don't think I'm going to get over it, but I am really good at living with it, at the emotion coming up, feeling it, thinking it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and continuing on. And I think that's what we work to get to. We don't work to get through getting over it. We work to just live with the pains, the memories, the learnings, the pivots, the experiences in a better way.
Well, I that's beautifully said, and I don't want to add too much more because that you said it really. I would love to leave people with that, and there will be a part two and three because I do agree with you. I do believe that. Look, at the end of the day, what keeps us sharp is the reality that life is hard, and God clearly states
God
that.
never promised anything else.
No, but he did say and promise that he has purpose in it, there's good in it, and that he has won it for us. And he wants favor for us. And most people, again, like you said, it's not even staying there out of a victim. There's a time where, just like I've had to reflect on my life and go, man, I didn't think I'd be here. And everybody listening or watching can relate to that either now or recent or will. It's
Yeah.
a fact. But
Yep.
like you
No.
said, it's also learning to, and I guess I do want to squeeze in a couple extra minutes, but I want to leave people with this because you're so passionate. And everybody listening or watching, I only met Brittany not that long ago, but that alone was a God appointment. The way it all happened, the mixer, the way it all happened, the follow
Absolutely.
ups, some other
There were
great things
so many,
coming.
like, I almost didn't make it that day because it was such a bad day.
Yeah, and now there's all kinds of good things. We'll leave people in suspense that are happening for us in business and all kinds of things. But it all started, and this is why I think it's a perfect way to kind of let you end with a couple words on this thing. Is you stepped. One of the first things I did when I met you, and you kind of told me, I go, man, I admire you stepping. I admire you just proceeding. It's not easy, let alone for a man, because no matter what, we have a certain role, a biblical role, but you are taking kind of both those roles right now in your life. So, just to finish up this segment, part one of many is what keeps you moving. So, someone right now had a really bad day and they're like, how do you keep pushing when you sometimes just want to give up?
There's two things I can say on that actually. So, let's start with the first one because it's probably a little bit for someone who's maybe in it and struggling a little bit more today. This one's a little bit more of like a funny, like, okay, what is the best FU that I could think of when you've gone through pain,
Yeah.
someone's made you suffer, something horrible has happened in your life? The best FU is taking all of that pain, all of that suffering, all that hardship, and doing something effing good with it. And
Okay.
so that's
Love it.
something that keeps me going is I'm like, this pain is not going to go to waste. I'm going to take
Amen.
everything that I've been through and I'm going to do something so good with it and make it the most positive thing. All the things that the devil or that person or whatever
Mm-hmm.
meant for
Mm-hmm.
bad, like, watch out. Like, it's coming back and it's going to do so much good. It's going to be the
Amen.
opposite of the impact that you wanted it to have in my life. And it's going to be a rippling effect in other people's
Amen.
life.
Beautiful.
And then the other thing I would say on that that also keeps me going, know who you are and what you want. And so many people don't. They don't. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they want. I know who I am. I know what God's doing in my life. And I know beyond all doubt, no matter how hard a day is, I've had to cut multiple people off recently who are like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just time you do something else. I'm like, nope, shut up. Like,
Yeah.
this is what
Yeah.
God has me. I don't know why it's so hard. I don't know why I'm in the desert. I don't know why it's such a struggle. I don't know why it's so painful, but I don't doubt one day, 1 second of any day that it's exactly the path that God wants me on and He's
Mm.
going to do something with it. And
Amen.
so if you know who you are and what you want, the hard days, it's just going to be fuel to keep moving forward. It's not going to be the roadblock that stops you.
Brittany, I'm going to end it with that because that is beautiful. I love the delivery. I hear, I get to see you, the passion that you're speaking this with. And again, you would think that we shared notes because I use the fuel comment a lot, Brittany. I say that I will have take that negativity, hence the name of the show, Positive Attraction. Like, we have plenty of fuel for a long time because we live in a crappy world that we're trying to make better, right? Especially for you trying to upbring a 5-year-old and say, you know what, this is your temporary home, and let's make it great. But I need to end and not ruin because you said it beautifully. And Brittany, I just need to say, like, I love hearing you. I've enjoyed our interactions, and I cannot wait for more. I can't wait to have you on the show. Honestly, I'm not even gonna put a number to it. I think it's gonna be, it might be a whole series of
Once a
us just
month.
talking. Yeah, seriously, because you dropped some beautiful wisdom, and I think the fact of you being this pretty girl just adds so much more strength because you have every right to just go looking for another Prince Charming and just want to be saved. You have every right to just go, I'm going to go this and just find a whatever. But you're like, no, I am going to fuel. And like you said beautifully, it's going to fuel me to do some great things. And I just want to remind you, you're doing them, Brittany. You're providing jobs. You're providing beautiful homes. You're providing opportunities for people all over. So I just want you to remember that that's a powerful gift that you've been given and you're doing it. So with that being said, Brittany Moore, hence the name, by the way, we didn't get to it. Be More, love it. We definitely will leave people hanging on that. Thank you for being a blessing to me, to the listeners, to the viewers, and sharing part of your story and being on the show.
Oh no, thank you so much for having me, Henry. Looking forward to more.
Same here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Positive Traction with our amazing guest, Brittany. She dropped some serious wisdom, applied, hence the keyword. And stay tuned for more with her. Have a great day, everybody.